everybody, and welcome to this video in which I'm going to round out my coverage this week by talking about Heroland. Heroland comes to us from Furyu, which is a Japanese publisher that is really noteworthy for taking on creative, innovative, artistic projects that other publishers, even JRPG specialists, would not take on. And we're talking about stuff like the Caligula Effect and the Alliance Alive and Lost Dimension, and pretty much everything that I rave on and on about at digitally-downloaded.net. A lot of it comes from these guys, and they've really established themselves over quite a short period of time as being a powerhouse in that kind of artistic side of Japanese RPG development. Heroland is no different. It is very different in terms of its style. It's a very satirical, comedic, entertaining, laugh out loud, wall-to-wall humour kind of game, and I love it for that, and it certainly had me hooked in within seconds. But underneath that humour there is a point to this game, and I want to use this video to talk about that point, because for me Satire is at its strongest when it has something to say, when it's willing to challenge you, and you walk away thinking about things at least a little bit. And Heroland certainly does that, so I'm going to talk about that through the video. I will have a review up on digitally-downloaded.net as well, which will talk a lot about the gameplay and all of that other stuff, so this video will be a complement to the review as such. But yeah, let's have a chat about the subtext to this game, because it's really cool. So, what is Heroland? Heroland is the name of the game. It's also the name of the theme park depicted in the game. And it's a theme park in which the wealthy, powerful, and important can come along and indulge their fantasies of being heroes, going into dungeons, fighting monsters, gaining prestige as warriors, wizards, and whatever, getting loot, saving people, and all of that kind of stuff. They get the full experience. And the monsters that they're fighting in these dungeons, they go through the motions of doing super attacks, making growls, being bosses, and all that kind of stuff. But they're actually employees of Heroland, dressed up in whatever costume. And it's pretty obvious very early on that these people do not want to be employees of Heroland. You play as a protagonist. Obviously, your protagonist comes along to get a job at Heroland, and pretty much immediately accidentally smashes a vase, which he is told is worth $1 million, and he now needs to be an employee of Heroland until he can earn that money back. What is amusing, or what is interesting, is that another employee of Heroland somehow managed to also smash a $1 million vase a week before. So it's pretty obvious right away what's going on here. This is a very corrupt system that's designed to kind of pull these people in and make them indentured slaves effectively, all in the service of the wealthy's, I guess, flights of fancy. They want to be heroes, and they need people who are desperate enough to work and demean themselves as, literal enemies to kill in order to be, in order to survive. It is obviously a criticism of the capitalist system and the way that the wealthy and powerful in capitalism are able to use the masses, the people, the destitute, the poor, for their own flights of fancy, no matter how superficial or whatever. In this case, they are very superficial because it's just entertainment for these people. And obviously, there are real heroes as well in the context of the world. There's Dark Lords and all that kind of stuff that are alluded to, that actual heroes went and defeated. But none of that really matters, because if you're wealthy or powerful enough, you can just play act through the whole thing and just enjoy yourself, and it's all a game. Like, life is a game, actual adventuring is a game, all of those kinds of life and death situations are all games if you're wealthy enough in this world. And yes, it is a very blatant criticism of capitalism. It's not preachy about it, it's very light-hearted, tongue-in-cheek kind of stuff. But it's obvious where it's coming from, and I would hope people playing this get that impression, because that is very clearly the main thrust of this game. All the heroes are wealthy peeps, and all the employees are slaves, effectively, to the need to earn money. Now, your role within Heroland is to be a tour guide, and as a tour guide, you need to take a group of these wealthy people into a dungeon and make sure that they have a good time. Basically, your job is to give them advice on which attacks to use, make sure that you keep them healed with their healing items so that they don't fall down dead, because needing to be revived is not the greatest way to have fun, it must be said. It'll put a stain on your holiday, that's for sure. And you also need to distribute the loot that you get from these enemies, because when you kill an enemy, they drop a plushie, and sometimes it's like a treasure drop, and those plushies improve the happiness of the people in the group and all that kind of stuff. Your level as a character increases by making sure that your tour groups are happy, and that's how it kind of fits into the standard RPG, I guess, gameplay loop. You don't have direct control during the combat because you are just a guide, and if you were to take a direct role in the combat, then it wouldn't be fun for the wealthy people. They're there to have a good time, remember? So the best you can do is kind of advise them, but for the most part they do their own thing, and your job is to really just monitor the situation and, I guess, plug the gaps, plug the holes when they come. So if there's an injured character and the healer character within the party isn't being quick enough with doing the healing, your job is to make sure that they're healed. You need to make sure that they're using the right attacks. Like for some reason, sometimes the characters will use area of effect attacks when there's only one enemy. You need to jump in and suggest a better attack for them to use and all that kind of stuff. By being a good tour guide, you get experience levels, as I said, and level up, and that's basically how the game goes. It goes through all the other standard JRPG tropes, but it's all very streamlined. You don't need to move through environments because it's all kind of theme park style, and you just kind of select room to room within a dungeon and move. It's kind of like a board game, I guess. And yeah, that's basically how the gameplay works. It's a very simple, very elegant system. It's not necessarily easy. There's a bit of grinding involved even quite early on, I must admit, and you'll need to do some of the side quests to make sure that your characters are off the minimum level to progress the story. But if you were to move through this too quickly, the story elements become too frequent, I guess, and the balance is a bit disrupted. So those kind of side quests also make sure that you're getting enough gameplay in between the story segments, and that's important too from a structural perspective, because as this is a satire, there is always the potential, especially over a longer game like this, that the humour can get dull if there's not enough of a space between it. So the way that this one's structured is to make sure that those cutscenes and whatever, which are very funny, are spaced in the right kind of proportions or portions, so that you don't feel like you're getting you get the chance to get bored with it. In terms of presentation, this game nails everything. It's got these really gorgeous 3D sprite characters. So they are 3D characters, but they look like they're paper cutouts, like they're a 2D kind of sprite-based game. It's that nice retro styled RPG thing that we've seen some other developers do some really creative things with, like Octopath Traveler and whatever. That whole sprites are back for JRPG trend I'm a big fan of. And the music is just really addictive. It's really catchy, it's really bouncy. The whole point of it is, of course, that this is a light-hearted, bright theme park, and the sinister stuff that happens within Heroland is really under the surface. The people who are experiencing it don't need to see that. In other words, they don't see that the working conditions are pretty crappy, for example, or that or that the management, the way that Heroland works is really built on the breaking backs of the workers. So you don't need to see that, and the game kind of creates that impression that it's all happy and bright and colourful, until you start to dig in the story and get a sense of what's really going on underneath. So it's very clever. It's a very clever, creative, intelligent, well-designed game. It's a lot of fun. If you don't want to take it too seriously, if you don't want to delve into its themes, you don't need to. You can just enjoy it for what it is. But those themes are there if you want to take something out of it as well. If you want to play this because you want to experience some kind of narrative, and you want to amuse about the implications of what it's saying. There's a lot there in this game. So yeah, it's coming right at the end of a very long year of video games. I think I've played now 8 JRPGs within the last 2 months alone. It's been very tiring, and I do think that it was the wrong time to launch this game as a result. I do feel a little bit burned out about video games in general right now, but when I find myself looking forward to playing a game after that kind of activity, of that kind of release schedule, if I still find a game that I actually want to pick up and play when I've got some time spare, that's a sign of a good game, and this game certainly did that. I haven't been able to put this one down since I've started to play it, so definitely check it out if you get a chance. Anyway, that's everything for this one. I hope you enjoyed it. I've only taken footage from the first part of the game because, as always, I don't want to spoil things, and I think that this game in particular, a lot of the fun is kind of built into the new environments that you find and all that kind of stuff along the way as well. So I've only taken footage from the first 3 or 4 hours, I think, maybe 5 or 6 hours. Anyway, the first couple of hours until you get to the second dungeon. So there's still plenty for you to discover if this game is, if you do get this game. Otherwise, check out my review on digitallydownloaded.net. Thank you as always for watching and tuning in. Do let me know what you think of this game if you've played it. And just some housekeeping to finish things up. Please do like and subscribe if you enjoy my videos. That way you get to see them as they go up. Please do back me on Patreon if you enjoy my videos as well, because that really helps me to produce more of them. And please consider buying the DD visual novel if you get a chance. Not only do you support us with making more of those, and we would like to do a lot more of them. We've got plans to do a couple a year, but we need the money to do it, obviously. But also you get a visual novel to play, and as far as I can tell, people are really enjoying it that have been playing it so far. So thank you very much again for tuning in. We will see you at the next video. Enjoy Heroland and have a good weekend.